Chuck Grassley, the senator, explained that there was an investigation that was created by the FBI called Arctic Frost. It was meant to ensnare Trump. Thank you for your patience, and frankly took too long for us to open this. Uh-oh, ominous quote. Oh man, Grassley's dropping names. FBI got their hands on Trump and Mike Pence's cell phones when they were trying to set him up. Remember that Chuck Grassley, the senator, explained that there was a campaign, an investigation that was created by the FBI called Arctic Frost that was meant to ensnare Trump before the election to try to take him off the field. And what Chuck Grassley just dropped for all of us to see is a letter showing exactly how this went down. And he has a timeline here that walks us through after January 6th, after Trump left, we had that corrupt FBI agent who's no longer there anymore called Timothy Tebow. And he was writing the reports, sending them to lower level agents to validate them and then send them back up that he would approve. And then they'd start and open up their investigation. But they were grabbing Trump's phones and Pence's phones as well. Look at this, obtaining their government phones in 2022 and then entering them into evidence, right? Seizing their data so that they can incriminate them. And now Chuck Grassley has got the goods. Here's the letter that he sent over to Pam Bondi and to Kash Patel. You can see he dropped that this week. It says, Dear Attorney General and Director Patel, and this one is signed by the usual friends of ours. Here you see Chuck Grassley, Chairman on the Judiciary, and Ron Johnson, who have been on this case for quite some time. And so they sent this over to Kash and Pam. They said, Thomas, I'm looking forward to seeing this case progress, in quotes. The case will be prioritized over all others in the branch, quote. Thank you for your patience, and frankly took too long for us to open this. Uh-oh, ominous quote. Prioritize this over everything else in the branch. Now, those were the words of anti-Trump assistant, special agent in charge, Timothy Tebow, in an email sent via his FBI account to the DOJ to another U.S. attorney called Thomas Wyndham on April 15, 2022. Within 2 days of the FBI approving and opening up the Arctic Frost investigation, which ultimately became Jack Smith's elector case against President Trump. The FBI created it. And actually, this corrupt agent, Timothy Tebow, he's the one who really created it, right? He sent it back down. We've already seen this in prior reports from Grassley, that he sent it down to lower level agents so that they could kind of like pass it off as their work. But he ultimately approved it and was the person, like the brainchild behind the whole thing. And was posting like, anti-Trump screeds on Facebook and stuff. The guy's nuts. Now, we have obtained additional emails, write the senators, via legally protected whistleblower disclosures that detail the scope and the breadth of this early investigation. And we previously, that we talked about, released documents showing that Tebow authored the initial opening of this. The FBI says you can't approve your own reports. There's a no self-approval rule, okay? Other people do the investigation and then you approve it. You don't do the investigation and then improve your investigation to proceed to the next steps. That's ridiculous. There's no checks and balances there. You get corrupt hacks like this guy who get away with this stuff. Not allowed to do that. Now, an independent evaluation and an approval of these activities must be obtained. But Timothy violated that rule by launching this incrimination against the president. Now, the new records that we're making public point to an aggressive investigation run by anti-Trump agents and prosecutors intent on using every possible resource to pursue Trump and his supporters, many of us here. Now, as we previously revealed, the FBI formally launched this investigation April 13, 2022. Like, oh crap, Trump's going to run again. Communications obtained through legally protected whistleblowers say that the FBI quickly advanced this, and emails suggest that each week the FBI Arctic team would provide investigative updates to Timothy. The contents were reviewed and then shared with the FBI leadership at the time, including the special agent in charge, Stephen D'Antonio and Jill Adams, both out of Washington. Examples of these updates are like the following. Here was one update that was provided to them. Approximately a week and a half after the investigation was launched, about April 22nd, 22, Tebow and Blair Tolman, another special agent in charge, or supervisory special agent, received an investigative update from another special agent called Michelle Ball, and Daniel Malchico, and Jamie Garman, all copied. Wow, these FBI agents must be really mad that their names are being made public here, because many of them are suing like whiny babies to stop Trump from releasing their names. But Trump's not releasing their names. These are whistleblowers, and this case is coming out through us two senators. So So now we know their names. That's good. So S.A. Ball's email included an attached Word document which summarized recent activities. Then on April 25th, there was another email saying Arctic frost update, Arctic frost, right? And I think we looked that up here, and Arctic frost is the name of an orange, or like like the cuties you get at the grocery store, like those little oranges or like tangerine, whatever they are. And it's like a version of that, right? So Trump is an orange man, Cheeto, bad Nazi, whatever. So it's a similar reference to that, is the concept. Thibault sent an update on recent investigative activity to D'Antuono, and D'Antuono was the same special agent out of Washington, D.C., who we read through his transcripts when he was being interviewed, and he explained that they basically got corrupt data from the cell phone companies when they were looking for data of the pipe bomber and his cell phone. Remember, the pipe bomber in that video was on his cell phone, and people are saying, oh, well, great. So there you go. Who was making transmissions at around that time, and just, backtrace it to wherever it came from. And they said, oh no, all that data was corrupted. It was? You mean companies that are in the sole business of not having data corrupted and who can track every single text message that was ever sent ever and bill you for it and need to have that all by law, right? That they had corrupted data when they got a request from the FBI? It was a lie, obviously. They did not have corrupted data. So this guy was in it from the beginning too, right? And I would say highly involved in the setup of the January 6th fake insurrection. So Jill Adams also sent information. They said, okay, well, CR-15's in the process of acquiring 55 subpoenas. The subpoenas are for 100 different facilities. It's fake. This lunatic, Thibault, just created it. Boom. 50 subpoenas for 100 people go out. The CR-15 is also in the process of acquiring and downloading 2 orders for 100 email accounts. They're raiding all of Trump's stuff. 16 interviews are being planned. They're coordinating 13 offices to assist with the interviews. Then another update. The DOJ and the FBI were informed that government-issued cell phones that purportedly belonged to former VP Pence and former President Trump were in the possession of individuals at the White House, right? They came in, they're like, we're going to go get all their stuff. The DOJ is currently conducting an analysis, this is in the update, regarding the FBI taking possession and processing the phones. Then there was another update in May saying Thibault sent an investigative update containing information he got the prior days from the other 2 people. So they took 55 subpoena returns and processed those. The analyst team had begun taking the G-Man produced spreadsheets and analyzing communications amongst Trump team members and Republican electors who did not sign the certificates. Right now, this is all of the alternate electors cases. We saw then they prosecuted all of them. In this is Fannie's case, the RICO co-conspirators case that she got thrown off of after she was found to be indicting her lover, special counsel Nathan Wade. Same thing happened in Arizona with our lunatic Chris Mays. She went after all the alternate electors, but wasn't courageous enough to prosecute Trump. Same thing in Michigan, I think Wisconsin too. Then there was another update on Thursday. 16 interviews would be investigated with 6 states of Republican electors. And obviously all this also became the January 6th case, right? This was Trump putting pressure on people and obstructing justice, using the DOJ to put pressure on state election departments and other things. Another update 3 on May 10th, there was an update, Arctic Frost, May 10th interviews. The special agent, D'Antuono, and others, he's more than a special agent, assistant in charge. I think he's in charge of the Washington field office, maybe at the time. Updates about interviews happening throughout the country. Then there was another update and emails outlining investigative activity. They said on May 4th, agents took possession of 2 phones belonging to former President Trump and Pence. The phones were entered into evidence and will not be processed until they get search warrants. A brief interview with the White House counsel was conducted. A follow-on letter was happening. Then on May 17th, discussions were also occurring with Jeffrey Clark at the Civil Division. The merger of the case is pending. Prosecutors are planning on reaching out to counsel for witnesses. May include former chief of staff, former counsel to Trump, Pat Philbin, John Ratcliffe, former DNI, now he's back in the CIA, and they're going to conduct interviews. Then on May 21st, Thibault again got another email saying they're merging Arctic Frost with the DOJ OIG investigation. Prediction for adding Clark as a target of Arctic Frost was then submitted. Search warrants were drafted for 3 email accounts, Jeffrey Clark, Scott Perry, Jim Wallace. Then they got a response from the White House about the phones. Certain toll information was recognized from Verizon regarding these phones. A search warrant was being conducted. Then U.S. attorneys plan to conduct contact counsel, Pat Cipollone, Pat Philbin, Steve Engel, John Ratcliffe, Update 6. Then they got another update. They say the group is planning another round of 50 interviews. The interviews will include individuals from Trump's campaign, including individuals associated with the, quote, fraudulent or alternate electors, which became the basis of the January 6th case. Discussions regarding the possibility of additional device warrants are ongoing, merging Arctic Frost with the DOJ investigation into Jeffrey Clark. FBI been giving access to a relativity database, and they're doing relevance reviews to see who else he was communicating with. John Eastman, Mark Meadows, right, kind of following the trail. The FBI is requesting assistance for those search warrants. So then they got into Meadows, and now they're finalizing filter protocols because they might be talking about attorney-client legal stuff, so we can't read that. But now you see they get into like Clark here, then they get into Eastman, then into Meadows. Meadows is like the hub of the whole wheel because of him being chief of staff, and then they try to get to Trump. So then on May 27th, they're interviewing former counsel to Vice President Pence, Mark Short, all of Pence's people who are all playing ball, essentially. FBI is going to record the interview with the chairman of the Republican Party, Phil Droge, and then Ali Alexander, right? You remember him. So in an FBI email thread with the subject line interviews, it lists the FBI employees from offices around the country who agreed to assist with the interviews. Oh man, Grassley's dropping names. The email mentioned a Teams briefing to prepare for the interviews. The extent to which individuals on this list volunteered and self-selected to support this investigation is unclear. So like all these people like, I'll investigate Trump. I'd love to work on that. Here's the staff breakdown. Wow, amazing. So out of Georgia, here's the staff breakdown. Might be contact information at the beginning. But remember, all the FBI folks were like suing so their names wouldn't come out. Like FBI does 1 through 29 or whatever it was. We can't be identified because we're such pathetic babies that if anybody knows who we are, we're going to be under threat, whatever. No, you're not. You're public servants, I thought. So Grassley's dropping their names, right? Boom. Michelle Ball, Hosty over here, Michelle Ball. These are the people out of Georgia who are going to make up the teams. Out of Michigan, you got David out of Grand Rapids, Walter, Kathy, David Barry over here, Frank D'Amico, Sebastian, what's up, Catherine? Got you, right? Everybody. So you all volunteered out of New Mexico, Wisconsin got charged. They were looking in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Fanny. Look, this is the Fanny case. This is the Dana Nessel case. I don't think they got charged in Pennsylvania. I might be mistaken about that. Definitely got charged in Wisconsin. Don't think we saw anything in New Mexico either, although we got them in Arizona. Just setting up shop, right? Now then, an internal email with the subject line shows the Arctic Frost team wanted $16,600 for travel to conduct 40 interviews, do several cellular search warrants, saying the request says the attached spreadsheet provides the cost, says none of these people are federal politicians, but it's just a portion of what they spent on this. Grassley and Johnson say sunshine is the best disinfectant. The American people deserve to know the complete extent of political bias, misconduct, and mismanagement at the FBI in these corrupt investigations into Trump. We are making this information public for the purposes of public accountability, yes, and to provide specific examples of past behavior. Quite simply, the public has a right to know what happened in Arctic Frost. And based on what we've exposed to date, we deserve better. It's important that every individual at your agencies maintain high levels of professionalism and does not allow for political bias to motivate what's happening. And so consistent with everything else we've requested, and specifically because Kash Patel promised Chuck Grassley that he would abide by his requests, we expect production of all records related to Arctic Frost, including all internal records of the investigative updates. In addition, we request data providing a true and complete breakdown of the total dollar amount spent on Arctic Frost before it was officially transferred to Jack Smith, right? Trump announced that he was running, and then they're like, well, we got to appoint a special counsel, right? This is another part of why this is so corrupt. They said that Jack Smith was going to be an independent investigative special counsel who would be brought in from outside the DOJ and do a thorough inquiry into Trump of his own volition. It's not what happened. He just came in here and took Timothy Tebow's corrupt investigation right over. They just gave him the file, said, here you go. Please provide everything about your travel funds. And we want to know if you went on cruises with Fanny too. We want to include that. Hours spent on this investigation. Provide all records no later than March 27th. Coming up soon. Signed by Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. So naming names. Thank you, Chuck Grassley, for doing this. And for explaining that they were raiding his cell phones and issuing basically 100 subpoenas, dozens of witness interviews, and more. It was a full-on attack by a weaponized, corrupt FBI and DOJ. They tried to cover it up. These were kids who thought that they could get away with it as long as they could win, right? They could do whatever they wanted to Trump, indict him, raid his house, throw him off the ballot, try to take him out. As long as they would win, all good, right? But they didn't win, and now the truth is coming out. So shout out to Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. We'll keep our eye on that.